reporting to you live from US&A. I have my Captain American shirt on because that's how I like my basketball, just good old school clean American basketball before all these dang Europeans came over here with all their 7 footers shooting threes and just shooting mid-range shots. Like, what are you doing? Get your 7 foot tall ass down there in the post like a real American. Wait, you're not, you're from Europe. um yeah, like my 7 footers down in the post. Unlike this guy right here, this guy just ruined basketball with all of his dribbling and shooting long threes and all the crazy stuff he did at 7 feet tall. Got off on an American basketball tangent, but today we're talking about Kevin Durant and kind of how Kevin Durant is going to be remembered for his career once he retires here in the next, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years. He could play till he's freaking 45 if he wants to, just with his skill set. But first things first, with Kevin Durant, when he first came into the NBA, he was really hyped up. Everyone knew he was going to be very good. Probably didn't think he was going to be as good as he ended up being, but there was a lot of hype around Kevin Durant, and people knew he was going to be a beast. But looking back to when he was drafted, people love to use the word generational now. Generational this, Cooper Flag's generational, Wembanyama's generational. I would agree with that one, or at least projecting Wemby out to be a generational player. But looking back, I don't remember people talking about Kevin Durant and saying he's going to be a generational player, or even hyping him up as the insane talent that he is. Honestly, just like I was saying to start the video, people were saying, "Oh, this dude's 7 foot tall. He's 7 feet tall. He's so skinny out there. He's rail thin. He needs to put some weight on and get in the weight room and get down low and grab some rebounds and blah blah blah." Good old clean American basketball instead of being 7 foot tall and actually learning how to shoot and dribble and play basketball. Imagine that. You got to get in the paint and put some muscle on you. That's kind of what scouts were looking at Kevin Durant as, and Kevin Durant just said, "Fuck you guys, basically. This is how I play basketball," and he's just one of the greatest scorers of all time. And thank God he didn't change his play style because it's been a lot of fun to watch. First thing with KD, we'll just get the elephant out of the room, of course. He went to Golden State. It was probably the weakest move in basketball history. If you ask me, I can't think of a weaker move in my entire lifetime. The weakest move I had ever seen was LeBron James going to Miami and teaming up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. We all know about that. Them teaming up, I think that was the weakest part. It was kind of weak. I wasn't that mad about that. Player empowerment, player power movement, that was all good. I was just mad that they did the whole decision televised, and then when they did go to Miami, they were on a stage like the rock stars, and they all came out, and there's freaking flames going up in the air. That was so damn corny from LeBron. But moving on, Kevin Durant goes to Golden State. The weakest move in the history of basketball. Getting into it, I think looking back though, we're not going to be saying, "Hey, Kevin Durant, that's the guy that went to Golden State and it was the weakest move in basketball." 20 years down the line, when Kevin Durant's retired, no one's probably going to talk about that. People like me and you are going to remember that, but the younger generation of fans are just going to look back at Kevin Durant's stats and see this dude averaged 27 points, 4.5 assists, and 7 rebounds for his entire career. Won 2 championships, of course. He did win an MVP. He was on 11 All NBA teams. 6 of those were first teams. Led the league in scoring 4 times. He's 8th all time on the scoring list, and he's about 1,000 points away from Dirk and Wilt Chamberlain. So it's not a matter of if he's going to pass Dirk and Wilt and get into the number 6 spot. It's just a matter of when he's going to do it. And he's probably going to do that this coming up season. So, no one's going to argue one of the greatest scorers of all time. Everyone loves Kevin Durant for that. Just us, this generation of basketball fans, of course, we're always going to bring up moving to Golden State. Golden State, they were like 73-9, I think, the year before. Just pretty sure it was the greatest record of all time. And for Kevin Durant to go to that team, it's just weak as hell. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's just a super weak move. I think Kevin Durant, even in his heart, like he knows that was a really weak move, but it happened. I just let it go. I just keep going. I'm not gonna harp on that for the rest of my life. From Kevin Durant's point of view, if I was Kevin Durant, I'd rather have gone to Golden State and won my 2 rings. People are gonna hate on me for however long for that, but I'd rather have those 2 rings. People can hate on them, but down the line when I'm 70 years old, I'm chilling. People are going to have to talk about me as a 2-time back-to-back champion instead of somebody where, imagine what could have been Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady, whatever other players you want to throw in there that didn't win a ring. Kevin Durant didn't want to be on that list, so, he made it happen, and it is what it is. Moving on, though, from the weak move to Golden State Warriors, for Kevin Durant, he's had 2 seasons where he was really close to averaging 50, 40, and 90. We'll get into the stats here in a second, but he's had 2 seasons, actually 2 seasons where he did average the 50, 40, 90. Then he's had 2 or 3 other seasons where he was basically right there and almost got to that 50, 40, 90. His entire career, again, he averages the 27 points, 4.5 assists, and the 7 rebounds. So just great counting stats just off of that. He's 50% from the field, 39% from three, and 88% from the free throw line for his entire career. So he essentially averages almost 50, 40, 90 for his entire career. If you tell me 50, 40, 90, the first name that pops up for me and a lot of people is going to be Steve Nash. He was kind of the OG of 50, 40, 90 stat lines. I think no one really even talked about that stat line until Steve Nash came along, because in that time, player efficiency and things like that were kind of coming more to the forefront, and people were appreciating efficiency more around Steve Nash's time. But Steve Nash was 49% from the field, 43% from three, and 90% from the free throw line for his entire career. So just stupid numbers, but Kevin Durant, next closest guy, again, 50% from the field, 39% from three, and then 88% from the free throw line. So just crazy numbers. Again, here's Kevin Durant's Wikipedia. Here's his numbers for his career. Again, 50%, 39 from three, and 88% from the free throw line. Nobody's ever averaged 50, 40, and 90 for their career. I won't say Kevin Durant did it. I'm not going to round those numbers up. Just like with Steve Nash, he's 49% from the field, 43% from three, and 90% from the free throw line. So Steve Nash was there for everything except the field goal percent, but I'm not going to give Steve Nash that 1% to round it up to the 50%, because some player, probably sooner than later, we're going to have a guy come in and he's going to average 50, 40, 90 for his entire career. And, it's just insane. Never thought that was possible. Still to this point, no one's done it, but I'm sure sooner or later a player will make that happen. Right here, Kevin Wayne Durant. Didn't know that was his middle name. Now you know. His nicknames: Durantula, KD, Slim Reaper, Easy Money Sniper, The Servant. Wikipedia is wild for this. Who wrote this article? I need to update this. I've never heard anybody call Kevin Durant The Servant. And if you called Kevin Durant The Servant to his face, he's probably going to stick you in the face. That's insane. Green Room. I've never heard of Green Room either. But The Servant, that's just wild. That's the craziest shit I've heard all day. Moving on, though. Here's all of Kevin Durant's stats if you want to check it out for your viewing pleasure. But essentially, it was the 2012-13 season and the 2022-23 season where he averaged 50, 40, 90. 22-23, he only played 49 games because he was on Brooklyn. He was also on Phoenix, and he had some injury problems. I think he was coming back from the Achilles around that time. But again, 2 seasons, 2012-13, and then that 2022-23 season where he essentially averaged 50, 40, 90, which is just insane to do. My complaint about Kevin Durant, again, we're over the Golden State thing. I'm not going to harp on that and complain about that for the rest of my life, but he averages 19 field goal attempts per game for his entire career. So you think that's a lot. That's a decent amount of field goal attempts. But if you see on our list right here, this is NBA, ABA, so the whole history of the NBA. And the leaders in field goal attempts, here's a bunch of legends: Jordan and Chamberlain. Elgin Baylor tops the list off at 23.84. If you want to get really exact with it, with the 4. I didn't think Elgin Baylor would top the list. I thought it would be like Jordan or Kobe or someone like that, maybe Wilt. So that did surprise me. But then you got Jordan over there. You have AI. Luka's number 8. You would think Kobe would be higher on here, but LeBron's 11. Kobe's actually 14. Donovan Mitchell takes more field goal attempts per game than Kobe did. Just a fun fact. Kevin Durant's all the way down here at 21. That's one complaint I would have about Kevin Durant if I want to nitpick something. For KD, in my opinion, it's like, dude, you should be the number one shooter in NBA history. You should be taking. Elgin Baylor's right there at 24, basically. I feel like Kevin Durant should be taking nothing less than 22 shot attempts per game. He's here at 21, only taking 18.7. So, I mean, again, I want to see Kevin getting up 23 field goal attempts every single game at least for his entire career. and you probably would be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He's at 27 points a game off the 19 attempts. Give him the 4 more attempts per game, and I bet he's giving you 32, 33 points a game for his entire career. So that's one thing I would complain about. Again, Jordan's at 23 attempts per game. You got Jordan right there. Kobe, 19 and a half. LeBron, again, he's right here at 19.6 essentially. So those are the names I'd kind of compare Kevin Durant to Kobe, Jordan, LeBron when it comes to field goal attempts per game. So that's one complaint I would have about Kevin Durant, just as far as him not. He's never been a selfish player. He just fits into any system that he wants to fit into. He's not nearly as ball dominant as like a LeBron James. Michael Jordan is not nearly as ball dominant as you think he would be. When you go back and watch the games, he kind of plays within the flow of the offense, a lot like Kevin Durant did. But LeBron, or rather Jordan, was a bit more ball dominant than KD. But that's one complaint I would have. I just want him to be. There's no reason for him not to be in the top 10 of field goal attempts per game. It's crazy he's at 21. You should definitely be up here in the top 10, taking at least 20 attempts. Again, I said 23, but there's no reason for Dominique Wilkins, Jerry West, Luka. Like, Luka should not be taking more field goal attempts per game than someone that I think is probably the greatest scorer ever in Kevin Durant. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy, him being number 20 all time on that list. Moving on, though, Kevin Durant, 15-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champion, 2-time NBA champion. Again, the 11 All-NBA teams. He did win the MVP as well. Mama, you the real MVP. Just awesome moment with KD and his mother. But looking back on KD's career, this is always how I'm going to remember Kevin Durant. I'm going to remember him in a Thunder jersey, just being one of the greatest scorers of all time, being like something I've never seen before, just going left to right, right to left, back on the crossover, pulling up hezzy threes from 40 feet in people's faces, just being the greatest three-level scorer that I've ever seen in the history of the NBA, to be completely honest. Comment below if you can name a better three-level scorer than Kevin Durant. You can tell me Michael Jordan's a better scorer than Kevin Durant, and I'll give it to you. It's almost like saying Shaq's a better scorer than Kevin Durant. Shaq averages more points, better field goal percentage. It just gets so weird when you're defining scoring, because at the end of the day, it's just putting the ball into the basket at the most efficient rate. If you can give me 30 points per game on 60% shooting, I don't care if all you're doing is shooting threes or if all you're doing is dunking the ball. I don't care what levels you're getting the points at, as long as the points are in the board, if you want just like a definition of scoring. But Kevin Durant, again, I think he's the best three-level scorer of all time. You can say Jordan's a better scorer. He averages freaking 33 points, 32 points a game for his entire career, which is more than Kevin Durant. But when it comes to three levels, three-point, mid-range, mid-post, high post, low post, just pick and roll, pick and pop, off ball, on ball, Kevin Durant, I remember him as the greatest scorer of all time, just at all those different levels. Again, like I said, one complaint I would have about him, other than the weak Golden State Warriors move, because again, I'm thinking about 15, 20 years down the road. None of these kids, even me, I probably won't be talking about that down the line at that point either. But I'm just going to remember Durant as the greatest scorer of all time, in my opinion. All of his achievements are too much, with the MVP, the 2 championships. Again, he left to go do that, but just like I'm saying right now, 10, 15 years down the road, we're just going to remember him as a 2-time back-to-back champion. How many scoring titles did he have? He had a bunch of scoring titles. I want to say it was 4. Yeah, 4-time scoring champ, 15-time All-Star. Just going to remember him as one of the greatest players of all time and one of the greatest scorers of all time. And again, the only thing I could kind of nitpick and complain about, if you want to pick something, would just be him not taking more field goal attempts, because he's just too great of a scorer to not be at least top 10 all time in shot attempts per game for his entire career. And that's really the one little complaint I guess I would have about Kevin Durant. Again, people are of course going to complain about the Golden State Warriors move, weakest move of all time in NBA history. I won't dance around that. But Kevin Durant, looking back at him, we're just going to refer to him as a 2-time back-to-back NBA champion and not really bring that up. The last thing I'm looking for, just to close out Kevin Durant's career, if he can go on and win a championship with Houston, that'll just be, I don't even want to say the cherry on top. That'll just take him to a whole nother level because right now, if KD retired today, we're not really talking to him. We're not talking about him in the Kobe, Jordan, LeBron conversations. We just don't have him up there. As far as I'm concerned, he probably is landing more in top 10 to 15 players of all time. But if he goes on and wins a championship with Houston, and he's a three-time championship, he essentially led a team to a championship because he'd be the number one option on that Houston team. It would do for Kevin Durant kind of like what Kobe's fourth ring did for Kobe, where people are just saying, oh, Kobe just won those three rings because of Shaq. You just won those three rings because of Shaq. That conversation was so loud. Everyone loved to say that. But if Kevin Durant went on and won without Steph Curry and the Warriors, people would say, all right, Kevin Durant's really one of those guys. He can be the number one option on a championship team because he just hasn't showed that, at least to me yet, because yeah, he was the number one option on Golden State. He was Finals MVP in both of those years, but I just don't see that as him being a true number one option on a championship team. So that's just the last thing I'd look for from Kevin Durant. Just a little cherry on top. Would take his name to another level and could realistically put him in the top 10 of all time if he can get that championship in Houston. But again, people are going to love to hate on Kevin Durant. Comment below what you think about KD and how you remember his career. The Golden State stuff is still pretty fresh on everyone's mind. But again, 10, 15 years down the road, even for me today, I just look at KD as a two-time NBA champion. You'll bring up the Golden State stuff. I won't argue with you about it, but just going to look at him as one of the greatest scorers of all time. And hopefully he can win a ring in Houston. And if he can, that'll just put him into that conversation with Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, and all of those guys. But please like and subscribe. Comment below what you think about Kevin Durant's career as well. And we'll see y'all next time.